hello. Welcome. Come in, come in, come in. How y'all doing? This is Tamika's Den. I'm Tamika. Get on in here, y'all. All right. We have to discuss this snowfall. All right. This is Snowfall Departures. Okay, season 5, episode 9. And we start this episode with Raggedy behind Buckley sitting on the curb, and of course he gotta tell them what happened with this whole shooting, right? And the cop comes over and lets him know that the chief is itching to speak to him, all right, and he needs him to run him through everything that happened at the scene first before he goes back to the office or to the station. And so he says that they got a tip on this cocaine, and they went to check it out. He's claiming that they shot at them first and they started shooting back, and everybody was running saying 5 or whatever have you, and so they got into a shootout, and basically his partner ended up freaking getting killed. He's saying that he told him stop, told him it was the police, and he had a gun in his hand, and when he was turning back to fire at him, he basically shot him. Of course, this is just Buckley's version, and of course, we know what he really was going there for. Of course, he got to cover his behind, but I kind of wish they would have showed us like in a real time of what happened versus just Buckley's story. Maybe they could have showed that first and then showed us Buckley telling them, his version. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's the way that they did it. And so he lets him know Kovac is going to want to hear from him. Like I said, he got to go ahead and make an official statement with them as well. You know, um, it's not looking good. And then he asked him, did he make it? And they let him know he's barely going on. So of course Buckley did not even succeed with the mission on top of all of this. We seeing Leon look like he's standing around thinking. We seeing Leon, yeah, looking like he thinking, and Franklin laying in the bed, and not too long after that, Franklin gets a call and says let him up. And this is basically Leon coming to, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm messing these names up. This is Leon coming up to see Franklin, and we find out that this is his first time even being to daggone Franklin apartment. I'm like, are you serious? He telling him welcome or whatever, and he's like, oh, so this is where you be at, shit. And, Leon is like, Franklin is telling him sorry he haven't invited him up sooner. He's like, look at this place. And so I found that really interesting that this was his first time. Franklin is telling him, I've been meaning to have you over. And so he lets him know he's been paging him all day. And he was like, yeah, man, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing and whatever the case may be. I feel like I'm carved out. And so, you know, Leon lets him know he actually was feeling pretty good, and he poured a drink and sat up on his curb and watched the sunrise. And he was like, well, basically, long story short, he wants to let him know what happened about this shootout and that Kane is in surgery, and you want to take a guess at who it was. And we're seeing that Franklin is just kind of like over it. He's tired now, right? And so Leon is letting him know, like, she lied to us. We said we was taking care of this, and she went behind our back. And Franklin says, what do you want me to do? And he was like, what? He was like, what would you like me to do? Would you like me to go to war? Would you like me to yell and scream? Would you like me to shoot up the club? He's basically like, am I supposed to go to war with Louis and Jerome, the cops? And so, basically Leon is telling him wrong is wrong and right is right. And so he was telling him, well, Kane did come at us and Louis and Jerome fired back. And he was like, I'm not saying that I'm happy with it, but there's other shit that's more important to me. And so Leon is asking him, like, what? And he's like surviving, like being there for my unborn baby. And I'm not about to go to war with my family. And so I can't tell you what to do, but I'm not gonna do this with Louis and Jerome. And so Franklin, Leon tells him that's a first, and I have to agree with him there. And he was like telling Leon that he's not gonna go out as a martyr. And Leon was like, so what, you gonna go out here in the penthouse? And as he's basically, walking away, Franklin is like, if you're trying to make me feel bad, you know, you're not. If you want to fight, you can, but I'm not going to be there. And so Leon basically sees his book and was like, you never even opened it, huh? And he go ahead and leave. And with that part, I have to say, I'm surprised but not surprised at Franklin's attitude, right? Like I said, he just looked like he's tired, worn out now with the whole situation. He knows that Louis behind always be going by his back. And of course, the whole LSD trip and all the different things he's seen, especially with him talking to himself. And we saw that he even tried to make up on the shit with Louis and all of that. I think he's just in a different headspace. And of course, the whole fact that he thinks he's having this baby, we all knew that was gonna put him in a different headspace. So I don't think he give a damn what they do at this point. He's pretty much feeling like y'all go ahead and tear each other apart. I'm done with it because every which way I've ever tried things, it's always just been something else. And Leon is feeling like, oh, now you feeling like that? I've been saying I want to get the hell up out of here. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't even want to let me go. You damn near didn't want to let Jerome and Louis go had I not said, you know what I'm saying? That you should let them do what they want to do or whatever the case may be. So it's interesting that now that it affects you and you about to have a baby, you ready to be like, I'm just going to get up out of here. And we just know that that's not realistic, but that is the mode that, Franklin is in right now. And so, of course, not only has Leon been trying to hit up Dagon, Franklin, but he's also been trying to hit up Jerome and them. So we see Jerome and Louis laid up, all smiles and happy, it's the day after the wedding. And, they're saying how they just want to stay in bed. They wish they didn't have to get up. He lets her know that he has like five, texts, not texts, but beeps, I should say, from Leon or whatever. That's, he's been paging him and they don't want to deal with the real world right now, right? They like only if we could stay here longer and we can ignore everybody and we didn't have to get out the bed, that type of thing. And so Jerome is saying, look, I could make a call downstairs and extend our stay for 5 days up until we leave to go away on this honeymoon. And baby, I got a fun feeling that y'all ain't making it to that honeymoon, all right? But we shall see. And of course she is all down for it. She's like, I like that. We could definitely do that. Like I said, she don't want to get back to reality either. They also talk about the fact that it was more than likely Scully that, of course, laced the fountain with LSD. Jerome is saying that that could have went terribly wrong. So we have Buckley in the captain's office. The captain is pissed. He want answers because, of course, this cop got killed. He's asking Buckley if there's anything else he should know. He's like, nope, you got everything there. It's just like I said. And they were like, he's asking him what he was doing in the first place. He's like, for bad information, you know, sometimes that happens or whatever have you. And so there's knocking at the door, and we see this tech come in, and they want blood from Buckley. Okay, they say you need to be tested and that you're suspended as well until they figure out everything that's going on. When it's shooting like this, we need to pull a tube of your blood and make sure that it's not, what I'm saying, no drugs. And so Buckley's like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Y'all can't be real." He was like, "Now all of a sudden." You trying to clean up shit. Suddenly, you don't give a damn how anything gets done or whatever the case may be. He's telling him an offer is dead. And Buckley's like, or is it just me? Because you think, I'm just this southern boy that's supposed to be yes, sir, no, sir, and shine his shoes and all this other kind of stuff. And so the captain stands up and was like, I shine my own shoes, all right? But like I said, if this comes up, then you gonna be shit out of luck, all right? And so Buckley is deep in some mess now, right? And it's not a game. We got two other officers that's standing in the back looking at him. And so he says he want his union rep. He want a lawyer here now. And he was like, if you refuse to cooperate, then criminal charges is going to be brought up. In the meantime, I'm going to need your gun and badge. So this is definitely not looking good. You didn't even achieve what you wanted to achieve. And on top of that, now you could be possibly losing your job. They are going to find drugs in your system because we know Dago and Buckley stayed with something sniffing up his damn nose. All right. And so that's not a good look. We have Veronique talking to Franklin, and she says she understands what Louis did, so um Franklin says right thing, wrong way, right? And then she says, who doses an entire wedding? Like, imagine if she would have ate some of those chocolates. And he was like, I don't even want to think about it. She tells him he could have called her. Girl, he was out of his mind. He wasn't calling nobody, all right? Not even Tyrone, all right? But he tells her that they talked. They had a whole conversation, when he was under, of course, and he hallucinated her. And she was like, "What did we talk about?" And he was like, "We talked about that you want to get out of here." Actually, he didn't get to tell her yet. He told someone they go away. He asked her, "Do she want to get out of there and clear her head?" And she was like, "What do you have in mind?" And so, of course, we see them go ahead and get on the plane to go. We have Sissy, right, meeting back up with Mr. Cuban. And, he's telling her that he had to alter his appearance, after last night because now he don't have a beard. She's letting him know she was drugged, she was scared, she's sorry. You know, um, he was like, "You know what? You should be scared, sissy. Okay, the CIA is gonna really get your son if you don't help him, and they will kill him or whatever." And he was like, "That's a fact." And so he was like, "Right now, you think you had two bad choices, but it's only one, and that's to help save Franklin." And so she's basically, he's telling her that he recruited her because of the stuff that I forget the friend name that brought her into this or whatever. And he started throwing up, "You started this mission because this man." And she was like, "Well, hold the hell up, because he was telling her, what she needed to do and how she messed up stuff." And she was like, "Now, wait a damn minute. I've done everything that you asked except for incriminating my son. And you haven't done shit yet that I've seen." And I was like, "Okay, you know, Sissy, I hear you, but you telling him that Teddy's gun supplier and runner was there, did he get anything from that?" And he's saying yes, but he would have got more. You know what I'm saying? Has she not ended up being out of her mind and approaching him? And he was like, "Hopefully it will be helpful that he's dealing into Avi and also now." And I'm like, "Sissy, you another one that's digging a hole, girl. Like you had the right intentions, but you are doing this all wrong and you about to make shit blow up for everybody big time, including yourself. This is not going to end good, y'all." All right. We have Avi chilling, at his place, and we have Teddy bringing in Dan Parissa to him. Is like, he just got Parissa as his ride or die now, right? He don't go nowhere without her, but he telling everybody else who they need to bring. And I think Teddy's making a mistake with that. Of course, Avi's coming over like, "Oh, who is this?" And he's saying, "Oh, meet an older acquaintance of mine, who turned into a new associate or whatever." And Avi is like, "Oh, you're a vision." And he's like, "Parisian, huh?" And she's like, "Very good." And he was like, "Yeah, I used to be back in there sometimes in the 70s." And of course, he's trying to make small talk with her. And he's telling her that he couldn't agree more with her and that he would like to hear all her thoughts on the matter. But she was like, "I would like to tell you, but I think you better go ahead over there and speak to Theodore for a minute." So he's like, "Oh, Theodore, well, yes, then I guess I better go speak to Theodore, and then me and you should chat." And he's basically telling her to go ahead and have a drink, that they have basically been enjoying his cellar all morning. And so he lets Teddy know about the whole LSD thing and that they was all spaced out. And basically that is why, I guess he's having these drinks to kind of even stuff out. And then, he's saying, "Oh, to be a young man." And Teddy is telling him that he is young. And so, Teddy is shocked to hear about the fact that the strawberries were spiked. He was like, "Was it you?" And he was saying, "Seriously." And Avi was like, "Not this time." And Teddy laughs. And so he basically starts telling him, "Well, I'm not going to take up much of your time. Basically, I wanted you to know that you are in a position where we need you to triple these numbers of these guns, okay? We need, like, I think it was 5 times the amount." And what did he tell him? Triple the guns in 60 days, okay? And that supposedly this war is coming to an end. But of course, we're going to have another one behind it, right? It's always another one that's coming up because Avi was like, "I hope you're still going to need my help." And he was like, "When have I ever let you down?" And, Teddy basically says, "Actually, a bunch of times, all right? So I need you to do this the right way." And so, Avi tells him that's not a problem, that he can do that, all right? And so they are in agreement with that. Leon goes to the hospital and he basically finds out that Kane is paralyzed, y'all. Okay, he's not dead, he's still here, but he's paralyzed. So we already know somebody's gotta go. Somebody's gonna have to go. All right, that is point blank and period. And so we have the guy come over and say, "Is there anything that you want to tell me about this? Did you know about this, or was this just cops going, crazy on their own, all right? Because we do know that stuff like that happens, but they ain't stupid either, They probably picking up on something too. We then have Buckley trying to go see his kids, and his ex-wife is basically saying, "Have you lost your damn mind? You are high, okay? It ain't nothing about that. I just don't want you to see them. I can tell that you high. I work with people like you every day, and I keep assholes like you away from their kids because of that. There's no way in the world I'm gonna let you see them like this. And once they find drugs in your system and you end up losing your job, I'm gonna have all the proof that I need, and you won't be seeing them anymore." So we got Buckley losing his job potentially. We got him losing his kids. Already done lost the wife. It's not looking good for Buckley, and we know that he is gonna want somebody to pay for that. Okay. We have Leon approaching Louis and saying, like, "I've been trying to hit at you all day, girl. You went and made a big mess. Do you know what you did?" She talking about, "Well, I tried to tell y'all what it was, and y'all basically didn't want to listen. And so, I told y'all how I felt, but y'all wanted to basically do it y'all way." And then she want to give him this whole big dialogue on, "You think it's hard being a black man, try being a black woman." And I hear you, Louis, and I usually am behind you. It's like Louis is not stupid. She's had really smart ideas that they have not listened to in the past, and I get all of that. But I feel like you messed up with this, Louis, and I don't think it's necessarily gonna cost you. That might actually be the easy way out if it does. I think it's gonna end up costing Jerome. I just keep getting that feeling. I hope that it don't, but that's what I feel in my bones, y'all. All right. And so she's basically saying, how she had to do this, and, it was no other way around it. She was like, the thing with Diamond and Dallas was different, and he came after them, and he wasn't going to stop coming after them, even if it was later on down the road. He might have took the money for a while, but eventually he was going to, have hell to pay. And she's probably 100% right about that. But he was like, "I'm going to tell you right now, King's people are not letting this go. I didn't tell them anything, but eventually they're gonna find out, and I hope you're ready for what's coming, and I hope you are ready for it too, Louis." All right. And so she basically just looks at him as he walk away. Like I said, Franklin takes Veronique on this plane. They go to some island. I don't know where the hell they going to. She said, "Well, maybe we made a mistake. I don't know if we should have been doing this." She's asking him if he had one of those bags just in case she start getting sick. And he's like, "Girl, you better use your pocketbook." And she like, "Oh, hell no, you a damn liar there." So when they get out there, he basically starts going into more details of what she said to him when he was having the whole hallucination. And he also tells her he hasn't been completely honest with her, I should say. He's basically done some really sick and horrible things when he needed to, by whatever means he needed to get to where he wanted to be. And he says by any measure, he is a monster. V tells him that she always knew that he was a killer or whatever. That's not a problem for her. But she also believed he wanted out, and he is telling her that it may be too late for that, all right? And that's facts on facts on facts. But we also find out in this scene when she starts to give him this breakdown of, again, a story with her running scams with her mom. And he's like, "Oh, but that's different, in terms of like her life compared to his." And so I found that interesting because that means that she has laid it out with Franklin. He knows about her past and these scams she's doing with his mom, with her mom, I should say. The way they was making it seem, we never really could be too sure whether he knew or not. I know that there was times when, especially after her telling his mom about it, I kind of wanted his mom to tell her about it. And I even thought if his mom did some recordings, maybe they would find stuff with her, that way. Because it just been something about Veronique that I haven't trusted. But as more and more time is going on and more episodes, I really don't think there's too much more to her besides the fact that she did these scams. She became a lawyer. She's looking out for her best interest and her self-interest regardless because she know what the situation is, basically covering herself, which at the end of the day, I think anybody would do. But I don't think it really goes much deeper than that. At first, I was thinking that it did, but it's a big possibility it doesn't because obviously Franklin knows the majority of her story more than we do anyway. And so I don't know if that's something that they did on purpose, like they wanted to make it look like she could have been against him, and now they're making it look like she is for him. I'm not too sure if that's done purposely or by mistake, but I kind of wish that they would have gave us more details on her than they did, because it still makes you kind of have that question mark where she's concerned. But she seems like she pretty much knows what she's getting when it comes to Franklin. And he seems like he knows what he's getting with her as well. So I thought that that was interesting. You know, we have Louis meeting up with Teddy. And basically, of course, going to do this drop. He asks where Jerome is. She says that Jerome is probably not going to be at a lot of these meetings. And he's like, well, if it's not Jerome, it's not going to be nobody else. She was like, well, I don't go places without my security. He was like, you do now. Thank Franklin for that. And then he says, speaking of that, did you tell Franklin yet? And she's basically saying, no, that she will tell him soon. He asked when they're going on this honeymoon. She says in a couple of days, but don't be worried. She will definitely, be back in time for the next drop. And also, as she's walking away, drop some gems to Teddy, but Teddy not listening. Okay. Also, don't talk too often, but when he do talk, I think you need to listen. All right. He says to Teddy, "Do you think this is a good idea that you are basically?" Splitting up this daggone family and selling to both sides of a family. All right, because he threw also the keys to drive, and he was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He was like, "I don't see that being an issue or whatever the case may be." And also says a blood feud is not good for anyone. And then Teddy talking about, "I'm sorry, a blood feud." He was like, "Franklin's not that type of guy to start a blood feud." And he was basically, like I said, saying, "Why? Do you know something?" And also was like, he's young and he has his pride, and this will wound it. Okay. And so of course Teddy is talking about, he'll get over it or he won't, and he gets in the car. I think that that was foreshadowing. Okay. And I wonder if Oso was going to go ahead and tell Franklin about this or not. I'm actually still waiting for that. All right. Now we have Buckley, of course, still sniffing like nobody's business. Okay, now he really gonna go crazy because of the situation he's in. And at first he tries to go out and buy a 20 from this guy, and he's like, "Nah, get out of here. You ain't getting no 20 from me. You think I can't smell a pig?" And so now he goes off. He pulls out his gun. He's like, "I was gonna buy it from you, but you want to get cute? I'll blow your damn head off. Y'all go ahead and give me the stuff right now. Was that so hard?" And so he about to go get ha ha ha. All right. And so, we have Leon go back to Wanda, and I so appreciated this part. I wanted him to go back to her. He lets her know, that maybe they should talk about last night, and that even though, he was hard up, he knew what he was talking about. Okay. He said some things and he meant them. She's like, "You sure did." And he was like, "I came here to let you know I meant every word of it. All right. I knew what the hell I was saying." Okay. And Wanda's like, "Which part exactly?" And he's like, getting away, Europe, Africa, he want to take her some places. And he was like, "You're coming with me." She trying to give him all these excuses. "Oh, I got to work and I can't just leave. I don't know about that leave. You know what I'm saying? I got responsibilities here. I'm finally doing good. I'm finally getting my life back on track." And he was like, "Listen, you'll still have your life, your life and your job when you get back." She was like, "I don't even have a passport." He was like, "I got enough money for both of us and I could get you the passport in 24 hours. I check." And so she's like, "Okay, yeah, well, but why me and why now?" And so he's basically like, "Lots of reasons." And she was like, "Yeah, okay, like what?" And so he was like, "I've just been doing a lot of thinking, and I want to help a lot of people, and you've been through it and I've been through it, and you understand about how people are hurting and all of this kind of stuff." And so she turns off the stove because she was about to make some tea or something, and she was like, "So you want me to help you?" He was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Well, you embarrassed to be with me here?" And he was like, "No, it don't have nothing to do with that. It's not about me." Like, in other words, he can't be with her here, but he want to take her away to be somewhere else. And he was like, "She told some truth is I do still love you, Lee." And so I was like, "Oh." And then he was like, "Listen to me." You know what I'm saying? He was like, "Last night, you know, I saw everything clear." And he was basically like, "You're the only girl I ever loved." And I was like, "Come on now, Wanda. Go with him, go with him, go with him." But we know that's not gonna happen, right? More than likely. But he was telling her to come away with him, and I'm glad that he did say that to her. I'm glad they got to tell each other how they felt. And it's good to see them together after everything that they've been through. And he basically tells her to come here and, gives her a hug. So we have Jerome and Louie talking or whatever, and he's asking her, do she think it's gonna come to that? She was like, I hope not, but you never know, and I ain't taking no chances. He was saying, I think you should get rid of his ass anyway. And she was like, well, let me tell you, if I gotta kill one cop and get another, that I will. All right. So of course they are talking about Buckley. And she was like, if I have to, you have her assistant come knock at the door and tell her he's downstairs. So at first I thought they was meaning Buckley, but actually is Mr. Franklin, all right, waiting downstairs for them. So they say no, that they both are gonna go. And so you actually have Franklin, congratulating them again, asking them how they night went, asking them how it feels to be, one day in. He's saying he's better now after he was tripping his balls off. They laughing about that. They saying that they feeling good and all of that good stuff. And so at first he was like, I know technically y'all on your honeymoon and I just wanted to come through and finish off what I was talking about last night, okay? He was like, I want you to know that I understand about Kane. And so they actually looking at each other, they kind of surprised that he's saying this. He was like, it was your choice, I was wrong, and of course she's surprised to hear him say he was wrong. He was like, I'm man enough to admit it, and I'm sorry for that. So we thinking everything could be good for a minute. They cheesing. And he was like, I just wanted to let y'all know that I believe the best way for us to stand is together as a family. Jerome is like, good. And Louis says, but there's something that I got to tell you before we can make that happen, y'all. And Louis tells him, I approached Teddy and I made a deal with him to get cocaine directly from him. And boom, bam, 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 bam. That is where it goes wrong. All right. He could take the other part, but he was like, so now you went to the plug behind my back. And he was like, you're completely destroying my business in the process. 90% of what I got came through you. And she talking about, yeah, but it's big enough for all of us. And there's stuff coming from all different kind of cities, Little Rock and this and that. And he was like, yeah, but that was what stuff I told you to do. And she was like, well, we agreed to give you the LA territory, Inglewood, Compton, whatever. And he was like, and that was the look for me. That tilt of that damn head. He was like, oh, you would do that for me? And they said, we're trying to be reasonable. And he was like, I don't give a damn about you and your reasons. I don't hear nobody saying nothing. He was like, oh, okay. And he just basically shakes his head, looks at both of them, and start walking away. And he basically says, you wanted to be out front. Now you are. Good luck. Let's see. You know what I'm saying? How they say, be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. That was that right there. He basically just laughed. And so, Louis is giving directions to this assistant, letting her know, I guess, how she want things to be run while she's gone. The assistant is telling her, she could have left with Jerome. She knows how to handle stuff, and she's like, no, I wanted to be here. I wanted to make sure I do this. And so, of course, when she walks into her office, who is sitting there waiting for her but Officer okay, Bo Buckley, sitting there at the desk sniffing up that $20 vow that he done bought. And he starts going in, letting her know, like, listen, I need the rest of my money. And she's telling him, you can't get the rest of no money, baby, until you finish the job. You didn't finish the job. And he was like, I know you ain't about to play with me and my money. And I was getting so nervous. Okay. She's telling him, you'll get it when you finish the job. And so he was like, finish the job. She was like, yeah, the deal was for Kane to be dead. First he tells her, that his partner got killed. She was like, that ain't my problem. But then he starts telling her, they about to kick me off the force. She was like, since when LAPD care about, what, getting killed on the street? And he was like, apparently after is a what that did it. And so he was like, you put me in a spot now, okay? And she gonna talk about you put yourself there. He was like, oh no, you gonna tell me I ain't getting my money? He stand up and start getting in her face then. And he was like, was this whole thing a setup from the beginning? So she was like, well, why would I do that? He was like, I don't know. Maybe you hope I'll catch a bullet. Who knows? Maybe you basically thought to get back at me for the projects or just because you a bitch. You know what I'm saying? He was like, but I lost my partner, I lost my job, I lost my kids, and so this gonna be a problem, all right? And so of course Louie gotta try to think quick on her feet. She gotta try to smooth this over. She's seeing that he is all out of it and messed up, talking about losing his kids. So she come over to him and say, listen to me, don't worry about this. Everything is gonna be okay. She was like, you still got connections, it's still things that you can be able to do. So you ain't gonna lose everything. She was like, you just gained, you really have. And she was like I said, telling him that she could still use him. And so she was like, that makes you very valuable to me. And she gonna damn tell him that she's gonna put him on the payroll full time and pay him double what he was making before. Okay. And you got a home right here. I always have your back. I said, Louie girl, honey child, so she talking about this ain't the end of nothing. And I say, okay, Louie, okay, Louie, okay, Louie, with this damn cokehead, all right? So we see this Cuban, sitting in the car with, I guess, one of his partners. He's looking through a magazine. They like, you want to see? He says, yeah. So they going up in here because he's like, you sure? He's like, yeah, okay, let's go. They going up and daggone Ivy Place, y'all, and they looking around, with a flashlight, right? It's looking dark. It's looking like everybody is probably gone, and it's not. Ivy come out saying, y'all better get the hell up out of here, right? Because they said they think it was clear and let them go. All right. And he's basically pointing a gun at them. Y'all know Ivy do not play. And so he telling them to get their hands up. Of course, he already lost a man. And, Ivy just be on point and he be prepared. He ain't no dummy. And so, at first he's looking at them and he says, I know you. Okay. Even with that so-called beard shave that the Cubans did, he still recognized him. When they still was trying to come towards him, Avi basically ends up shooting one of them. He's beating the crap out of the other one, Mr. Cuban, giving him a run for his money. And then we finally, see the Cuban knock Avi out. And I'm like, this is not good. And Sissy, you helped create this mess and it's about to be some big explosions. We have Teddy and Franklin meet. Of course, even though Teddy already knows about it, he lets him know that you know, the LSD trip and the phone call or whatever the case may be. First Teddy was trying to make small talk about, New York is the city that sleeps. What is LA? And he basically, Franklin says to him, the city that sleeps in. They laugh a little bit about that. Teddy's ordering coffee and damn apple pie. So Franklin is like, well, you seem to be in a good mood. And he was like, yeah, actually I am. More than likely because he already done been to damn Franklin house and took pictures and about to take all his money out his account. But of course, Franklin don't know about that yet. And so basically, like I said, he starts to mention him about, yo, I probably made a phone call last night and said he's like, oh, the one where you told me you was gonna kill me. And he was like, listen, I was high as a sky. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I think I owe you an apology. And so Teddy lets him know that he did hear about that. Um, he also starts to tell him like, you know, but this is going, be a little problem, y'all. This ain't gonna be good right now. And so Teddy's like, why? Because I made a deal with, Louis. And he was asking him to he at least have fun before the paranoia hit in. And, Franklin was like, I gotta keep it real. I actually did. And he was like, everybody was there, everything was happy until a bomb got dropped in the middle of it. Okay. And so he was like, I'm not sure if you're talking about acid or you talking about the business that I'm doing with Louis. And so of course Franklin is like, yeah, why would you do that? You went behind my back and made a deal with Louis, and you thought that that was just going to be okay and that wasn't going to be an issue. And he was like, I have to say, I didn't see that one coming. Okay. Y'all got over on me good with that one. And so, of course, Teddy's saying it's not personal. And Franklin is like, personal. He was like, it's not personal, just business. He was like, you know how many times I use that line? And Teddy tells him, yeah, that's why you should understand it. And, Franklin was like, "Oh, it's about America and winning the war, right?" And Teddy's basically agreeing, saying, "Yeah." And he was like, "You know what? Before I came here tonight, do you know that in the last 3 years I made you $56 million to help with this war? You know, I've been beaten, I've been shot, I've been in prison, I killed people, shit, not to mention unleashing a plague and, basically screwing over my own father. And I did everything you wanted." And so he was like, "You remember?" And so Teddy's like, "Yeah, that's true. And this ain't charity work. You made a nice hazard pay off of it as well." And so he was like, "Yeah, so we should be in agreement that we both did, what we could have never imagined." Okay. And I would like to think that there were genuine moments where we had human connections and genuinely hope, that you got what you wanted out of it and squeezed every last drop. And now that's done. That it comes time for this partnership to be over. And so, of course, Teddy just looking at him. And so they are, the freaking waitress coming over asking, do they need anything else? They like, "Nah, I'm good." And so he tells him, "Oh, just because I'm dealing with Louis doesn't mean that we can't still have something." And he was like, "You undercut me with one of my biggest customers, so yeah, it does." Basically, there's no other way to take it. He was like, "I've got my money, I got my lady, I got a baby on the way." Franklin, Franklin, Franklin. So he says, "I've done my duty and that's it. I'm out." Okay. And so he was like, "Shit, maybe one day they'll know that a white boy from Kansas and a black boy, excuse me, from LA changed the history." And then we have "It's Like That." And that's the way it is. Huh. Playing as Franklin is walking away. And that basically was the ending of this episode. And he's like, "Good luck, Teddy." And they shake hands. But we all know that it is not going to end this way, Franklin. He ain't just letting you walk away, boo. All your money about to be gone. All your money about to be gone. This cop about to start a whole big mess with Louis. And that damn Cuban guy is about to do some shit, okay? And it's going to be repercussions when what happened to Avi. That was just the beginning. It's about to be a domino effect, y'all. So anyway, put it in the comments which I think we got going for the season finale. How did y'all like this episode? Did y'all see that coming? Did y'all think that, Franklin was going to be so calm, cool, and collective? It's about to go down. That's all I got, y'all. But let's discuss, all right? Like, comment, share, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Till next time, toodaloo.